channel. We are here today to talk about a big misconception, which is being a nurse leader is a babysitter. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm just a glorified babysitter? Well, many of us have. In fact, I avoided going into leadership for almost a decade because that's what I thought being a leader or a manager was. Well, today we are going to talk about why this is a misconception and what becoming a possible glorified babysitter actually means. So how can we go back to being a manager that actually leads? We're going to get into it today. We're going to give you some actionable items to avoid this pitfall, because if we're not careful, we can become babysitters, and there's a reason for that.
Hey guys, I'm Taresa.
And I'm Cindy.
And we are both nurse leaders on a journey to help other nurse leaders avoid some of these mistakes that we have made ourselves. We believe that elevating nurse leaders to create dynamic, high-performing, cohesive teams will lead to better outcomes for our patients and happier staff overall.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what being a babysitter actually means. This is going to be a hard truth for some of you guys, because the hard truth is that being a babysitter means you're probably being a micromanager. And we all know that being a micromanager is not good for staff, but I'm also going to tell you why it's not good for you either as a manager. Now, as bedside nurses that are high-performing, type A, get shit done people, it's very easy to become that person as a manager. A lot of our high-achieving type A nurses become managers because they're good nurses, but that doesn't always translate into leadership.
No, it can totally become this because you become a nurse that you have certain things that you need certain ways all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes your way. And it becomes a perfectionism thing. So that's where it leads into other things.
Yep.
So
let's talk about why micromanaging is not good for you or your team. Being a micromanager means more work for you. When you're a micromanager, you're likely to have a low trust environment, which means you've put yourself in a situation where only you can fix the problems
or make decisions.
And so nobody else is going to be able to help you because you're the only one who has the information and has the ability to fix things. There are no unofficial leaders on your unit if you're being a micromanager. Staff may come to you with problems, but they don't have solutions and they don't want to engage to help you fix it. And worst of all, this demoralizes the engagement in your high-performing employees. So you might lose that engagement of those high-achieving employees, and you don't want to lose them because they're such great assets and you really need them for your high-successful team. Stephen Covey talks about how nothing is as fast as the speed of trust, and that is a true statement.
It's so true. Nothing is fulfilling as a relationship of trust, right? It's inspiring when there's trust. Nothing is as profitable as the economics of trust, and nothing has more influence than a reputation of trust.
Yep. So let's talk about how we build that trust and how we avoid becoming a glorified babysitter.
So we're going to go over 5 actionable tips to avoid becoming a nurse babysitter. Tip number 1, teach your charge nurses how to make decisions that you are comfortable with and allow them to make them. The first thing you're going to need to do is give them some basic parameters on common challenges like staffing, call-offs, overtime. If you don't have a policy for this or a guideline or something, create one. Make it simple. Make them be like, this is what you do. And if weird situations come up, this is what I want you to, how you can solve it. Work with your nursing supervisor, house supervisor, whatever they're called, nurse of the day, there's various terms, and then brainstorm together or get a more experienced charge nurse that's around. Do that. When they make a call you don't love, support them in public, but coach them in private. Make them just like, this is how I would want you to make that decision in the future. You didn't do anything wrong. It's fine. It's just not the direction we want to go. That's it. And help them. And then consider making a charge course, creating an environment where you do case scenarios to help them think through problems they may encounter. Anything that will allow them to think through and just tell them what to do, help them. And then they can make those appropriate decisions and it works.
Yeah, you're really trying to teach your staff how to make decisions. And you're giving them that parameter. This is a skill that they have to practice. This isn't always intuitive. They're not the ones in your role. And so you have to teach them that bigger picture knowledge that you maybe have. So tip number 2 on how you don't become a nurse babysitter is that you clearly explain what the chain of command is. We used to have a big poster in our unit that was exactly like, if this happens, you go here. If this doesn't resolve it, you go here. If this doesn't resolve it, we go here. Your nurses want it gives them a sense of safety when they understand that if they don't get something they want, there is going to be a flow of chain of command. But it shouldn't always just be call the manager. There should be other options that they go to first. So nurses especially need help with this when they're newer and when they need to call and what they need to report when they call. You might need to step them through, like, when you do make that call, what's the process of how to do that? Who is the first person that you're supposed to communicate with? Is this a senior peer? Is this a charge nurse? Is this the supervisor of the day? Whatever that's called. Give them that information and clearly articulate that and make sure everybody else that's involved also understands that plan as well. Consider making a flow map like we did. We have a big poster and it's just right in front of everybody. This is great for units that are teaching units, because then the residents that are coming in and the staff trainees that are coming in, they all also see that and they know exactly how this chain of command is supposed to go. But make sure that you do not undermine this process. So if you tell them that that's the chain of command and then you hear about something that's going on, you need to let them run through that. Don't just be like, oh, I know what to do and I'm going to go fix it, because that just undermines what they are trying to do. You're taking away their power and you're not teaching them anything. You're just giving them the answer.
And this is probably the hardest part. It's that moment of not stepping in and saving them, allowing them to follow through with whatever decision they're going to make. Unless it's truly going to impact patient safety, let it happen. If it's going to impact patient safety, obviously you have to step in. Those are those moments.
Yeah.
But some of the smaller things like calling someone off or not calling someone off, that type of stuff, like let it
small
happen.
potatoes and the big thing, these are small things. It's a growth opportunity. And so sometimes we need to let them make the wrong call so that they can see what happens when they make the wrong call. Because sometimes the best lesson is actually watching the cascade of events happen.
Yeah. And then when it comes back and it gets brought back to you as a manager, you support your staff as well. You say, you know what? This is why they made that decision. This is the story. And if you don't have the story, say, you know what? I need to go get some more information. I'll be back with that.
And a lot of times we're just trying to make decisions with what the information we have, and we're doing the best we can.
Exactly. Another number 3 is going to be perform routine one-to-ones with your staff. Again, we made an entire video on this, so go check that video out where we talk about one-to-ones. There's 2 versions depending on your group of people that you oversee. You have your frontline larger staff one-to-ones, and then we have our high achieving one-to-ones. We will link those in our comments, but we'll share that with you. And then in these one-to-ones, you want to know, how does the staff like to receive information? What are their personal goals? And can you align those with other projects and metrics that need attention? Ask the staff what they need from you. That's important. It's always going to be value added.
Tip number 4 is invest in that time to explain why and give them opportunities for staff to get involved. This is the biggest mistake, that managers think that they can fix all these things and they don't want to delegate things. Sometimes I've seen managers that take on too much because they don't want to burden people. But guess what? Your staff want opportunities. They want to grow. They want to see a way to progress and change. So don't take that away from them. Give them those opportunities. And then when you're teaching them all of these skills and how to make decisions, you want to make sure that you explain why you make the decisions the way that you do. You're teaching them how to think. You're not just teaching them, they're not robots. We used to have a staff member who worked on our unit who was like, I can train a monkey to do anything, but I cannot teach somebody to show up with the right ethic and the right attitude. And this is a skill that they have to develop. They have to learn how to think through these problems. It's critical thinking. So your staff went to college. They have degrees. Some of them have bachelor's and master's degrees. Treat them like the professionals that they are. You want to make sure that you're communicating on multiple platforms. If you are giving that chain of command, you want to have it in multiple places. Taresa used to stick training in the bathroom. You'd be sitting down to go pee and you're like, oh, what's this?
I still do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I have some managers that do it too in my units, and I think it's pretty cool. When you need to adjust the level of communication that impacts the frontline staff. So I think Taresa has talked about in multiple videos before that we need to meet the staff where they are. So what's the best way to capture them? Is that at a huddle in the morning? Is that in an email? Is that in the bathroom education? Figure that out. With big changes, you might want to use visual aids and flow maps to better explain what's going on. So, for example, are we getting a new Omnicell? What's the change? What's the impact? What's the timeline? When will it happen? And how long will it take?
And oftentimes you may not have all that information. And sometimes you just have to be honest about that and tell them.
Yes.
Say, you know what, this system, we're not getting the communication we need right now, but it is going to happen and within this big block of time so that you're covered. So tip number 5 is offer opportunities for growth. This is where we have to be willing to relinquish our control and let people get the work done. It might feel scary, but the reward will be worth it. We kind of talked about it earlier, but we're going to really dive in here. Create lists for opportunities for unit improvements. What are the projects that need to happen? Make a list because they can't always come up with it on their own. Some people can, some people can't. Everybody's different. We don't have to put our people in a box. Let them be them. Define the need and the investment. And that is really important. Share this with your staff and let them be able to step up and offer, participate, get engaged, provide parameters around everything, create routine check-in times so that they, just like random things also, like it doesn't have to be all perfectly scheduled, but like routinely you're going out and saying, hey, how's the day going? What's going on? Is there anything you guys need help with? And then if they're working on a project, are you struggling with any aspects of it? Or have you ran into any barriers? Is there anything you need from me? How
Yeah.
can I help?
And let them be kind of the creators. This is again where you have to stop being that micromanager and let them figure it out. I've learned the hard way sometimes because I used to be this way where I was like, I know the answer and I'm just going to do it. But when I actually relinquished that control and I let the staff come up with the solutions themselves, they came up with stuff that was way better than I ever would on my own.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention really quick is you will get different outcomes with different types of staff. I had 2 people do a very similar project and it was creating kits on the unit. I gave parameters to both exactly the same. You need to work with pharmacy, you need to create an inventory list, and you need to have a plan. Those were the main parameters. Then one person created one, they followed that main parameter. Another person made one, they didn't follow those parameters, and that one later ended up getting joint commission tagged. I let it
Interesting.
happen, and
Well,
that person had to deal with it.
well, that's a great lesson. They probably won't ever do that again.